It begins with a single step. A lone astronaut, visor reflecting the deep red wasteland, plants their boot onto the surface of Mars. The dust, untouched for billions of years, shifts beneath their weight. Above, the sky is neither blue nor black, but a muted, alien orange. There is no sound, no wind strong enough to whisper, no life to greet them, just the endless, barren expanse of a world that could one day become humanity's second home, or its greatest mistake. For decades, Mars has captured the human imagination. It has been the setting of science fiction epics, the target of billion-dollar space programs, and the symbol of our species' next great leap. To some, it represents hope, an escape from the environmental and political turmoil brewing on Earth, a fresh start, a second chance. But beneath the excitement lies an unsettling truth. Mars is not a world that welcomes life. It is a frozen, airless desert, bathed in radiation, with soil laced with toxic chemicals. And yet we dream. Visionaries like Elon Musk and NASA's brightest minds speak of cities under glass domes, of greenhouses thriving in artificial light, of a self-sustaining human civilization millions of kilometers from Earth. The first colony, they say, will begin as a small outpost, a handful of pioneers surviving in a maze of pressurized habitats, dependent on Earth for supplies. Over time, they will mine ice for water, generate oxygen from Martian soil, and harvest energy from the relentless sun. Slowly, the dream of a Martian society will take shape. But history offers a cautionary tale. Humanity has always sought new frontiers, from the frozen tundras of Antarctica to the vast emptiness of the ocean. Yet, every attempt at permanent settlement in extreme environments has faced hardships, failures, and unexpected consequences. What makes us believe Mars will be different? Beyond the technical challenges, there is an even deeper question. Can humans truly adapt to life on a world so fundamentally different from our own? Mars' gravity is only a third of Earth's. No one knows how that will affect long-term health, pregnancy, or even basic muscle function over generations. The psychological toll may be even greater. Isolation, distance, the knowledge that, unlike the International Space Station, there is no quick return to Earth, no rescue mission that can arrive in time. If something goes wrong, the settlers are on their own. The first people to set foot on Mars may be seen as pioneers, heroes, or even visionaries, but will they also be the first exiles, cut off from the world that created them? If we do reach Mars, what kind of society will we build? One that thrives, or one doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past? The first Martian settlers will arrive, in a world utterly indifferent to their survival. Their first breath outside the lander will not be of fresh air, but the filtered, metallic taste of oxygen scrubbed from machines. Their first step will not be onto fertile ground, but onto dust poisoned with perchlorates, fine enough to clog lungs and corrode equipment. Survival on Mars is not a question of willpower or ingenuity alone. It is a test of physics, biology, and engineering, played out in one of the most hostile environments humanity has ever attempted to inhabit. Without a breathable atmosphere, even a small crack in a habitat could lead to decompression in seconds. Without a protective magnetic field, cosmic radiation will seep through every structure, damaging cells, increasing cancer risks, and possibly altering human DNA over time. And without liquid water on the surface, every drop must be extracted, purified, and recycled with near-perfect efficiency. The only path forward is to use what Mars provides. Scientists call it in situ resource utilization, turning Martian ice into drinking water, mining the soil for oxygen, and extracting methane fuel from the atmosphere itself. These technologies exist in theory, but have never been tested at the scale a colony would require. What happens if the equipment breaks down? If the first settlers miscalculate how much they need? If the technology that sustains them proves less reliable than expected? Even the human body is not designed for Mars. In a fraction of Earth's gravity, bones weaken, muscles shrink, and circulation slows, in ways we barely understand. What happens after a decade in low gravity? A lifetime? Will future generations, born on Mars, ever be able to return to Earth? Or will they evolve into something else entirely? Beyond the physical dangers, there is a deeper, more unsettling question. How will isolation change the human mind? A mission to Mars is not a trip to the moon. The distance is so vast that real-time communication with Earth is impossible. A simple message, a plea for help, would take anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes to arrive. Double that for a response. For the first time in history, humans will live on a world where, in an emergency, no one is coming to save them. If a Mars colony is to succeed, it must overcome not just the challenges of technology and biology, but the silent creeping weight, of isolation. The settlers will wake each day, knowing they are alone, their world confined to the thin walls of their habitat, the same faces, the same routines, with no escape. How long before loneliness, stress and paranoia take hold? How long before the first human society on another planet fractures? Not from lack of air or water, but from the pressures of the mind? Even if we master the technology, even if we solve the biological unknowns, one question remains. Are humans truly meant to live on Mars? Or will it change us in ways we cannot yet predict? A new world, a fresh start, a civilization unburdened by the past. These are the promises whispered in every vision of Mars colonization. But with every new society comes an inevitable question. Who makes the rules? Unlike Earth, Mars has no borders, no governments, no nations. Just dust and silence. In the beginning, survival will be the only law. Cooperation will not be a choice but a necessity. But as the colony grows, as resources become more complex to manage, order will need to be established. Will Mars be governed by the nations that sent its first settlers? Will it answer to Earth's laws, thousands of kilometers away? Or will it break free, becoming humanity's first extraterrestrial nation? The current treaties governing space say no country can claim another world, but they say nothing about corporations. SpaceX, Blue Origin, and other private companies are racing toward Mars, not just for exploration, but for ownership. If a private entity funds the first colony, does it have the right to control it? Will the first Martian settlers live under corporate rule? Their survival dependent on the interests of shareholders back on Earth? Even if Mars is not owned by one entity, power will still take shape. Someone will control the air supply. Someone will decide who gets resources in an emergency. Over time, hierarchies will emerge. Perhaps a structured democracy will form, with settlers electing leaders to manage life on an unforgiving planet. Or perhaps control will fall into the hands of a small elite, a group that dictates who thrives and who barely survives. And then, the question no one dares ask. What if Mars doesn't want to remain under Earth's control? History has shown that distant colonies rarely stay loyal to the powers that created them. The American Revolution, the fall of colonial empires, time and again, isolation breeds independence. Will Mars follow the same path? Will its settlers, bound to each other by necessity, decide that they are no longer Earth's pioneers but Martians in their own right? But independence is not without consequence. If Earth provides critical supplies, could it cut them off? If Mars declares itself free, could Earth see it as a threat? In a future where interplanetary economies take shape, could the first conflict beyond Earth's atmosphere arise? Not over land or ideology, but over the right to exist as an independent world? Mars may begin as a colony, but it will not remain one forever. A new society will form, shaped by forces we can only begin to predict. Will it be a beacon of human progress, a corporate stronghold, or a rebellion waiting to unfold? For now, Mars is silent, a world untouched by the weight of human history, by the rise and fall of civilizations, by the endless conflicts that have shaped Earth. But if a colony takes root, if humanity stretches its reach beyond its home planet, how long will that silence last? At first, survival will consume every moment. But as technology stabilizes and resources become manageable, a deeper ambition will emerge, the desire to transform Mars itself, not just to live within airtight domes, but to make the planet habitable, to change it, reshape it, mold it into something familiar. Terraforming. The idea is as bold as it is controversial. Scientists envision vast machines releasing greenhouse gases into the thin Martian atmosphere, trapping heat, melting ancient ice, and triggering a runaway process that thickens the air and raises temperatures. Over centuries, the planet could begin to change. Rivers may flow again. The sky may shift from its muted orange to a pale blue. But others warn that this vision is little more than science fiction. Mars has no magnetic field to shield it from solar winds, no tectonic activity to recycle carbon, no easy way to hold onto an atmosphere, even if we could create one. Could we truly force life onto a planet that has resisted it for billions of years? Even if it were possible, another question remains. Should we? Some argue that Mars has, altering an entire world, to suit our needs is an act of arrogance beyond measure. Others counter that the very act of colonization has already changed it, and that if we are to stay, we must make Mars a place where humans can thrive, not merely survive. And yet, hidden within the cold soil, there may already be life, microbial, ancient, unseen. If we terraform, if we warm the planet, and release its frozen reservoirs, will we be awakening something long dormant? And if so, what responsibility do we have? Should we reshape Mars into a second Earth, Or should we adapt ourselves to Mars, becoming something new entirely? Mars is not just another frontier. It is an untouched world, a place that has never known us. But if we change it, if we bend it to our will it still be Mars at all? One day, a child will take their first breath on Mars. They will grow up never having seen Earth, never having felt the warmth of an open sky, never having walked barefoot on grass. To them, Mars will not be an experiment or a stepping stone. It will be home. But what kind of home will it be? The first generations will live in confined spaces, surrounded by machines that make life possible. They will be pioneers in the most unforgiving environment humanity has ever faced. Culture will evolve, too, separated by vast distances and time delays. Martian society may begin to diverge from its earthly origins, a new way of speaking, a new way of thinking, perhaps even a new identity. Will these settlers still see themselves as human beings from Earth, or will they become something else? A new branch of humanity, adapted for a world that was never meant to support them? But there is another, deeper uncertainty. Will Mars be enough? For all its scientific potential, for all its promise, Mars remains a harsh and desolate world. No forests, no oceans, no natural refuge from the thin, suffocating air. How many generations will it take before some begin to ask, why did we come here? And where do we go next? Because Mars, for all its challenges, may not be the final destination. It may only be the first step in something far greater, a turning point where humanity ceases to be a single planet species and becomes something more. So the question remains, is Mars our second chance? Or is it just the beginning of something far beyond our imagination? This video has come to an end, but the discovery continues. Check out more content on the channel and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Thank you for watching.